you know, it comes to all this discussion about how, you know, like Western countries are causing so much of the harm on this planet, and then dumping they harm into global majority countries. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you're revenant. Please consider subscribing if you like everything and anything about secondhand fashion, chaotic styling, and yapping. Today, we're going to yap. Yes, once again, I want to yap about a subject that is quite dear to my heart when it comes to sustainable fashion, and that I have been implementing for years. And it's basically being a bit more critical thinkers when we think about sustainable fashion, when we think about decisions and what sustainability really means and how we view it, and how we also kind of view our clothes in this, very fast paced society that is encouraging us to kind of see our clothes as something very disposable and to not really care much. And it's creating so much damage to the world. Like, for example, I saw today on Instagram, there was this post about like a satellite picture of a like closed landfills in Chile. And because of that, it got me thinking about a lot of things on my sustainable journey and my sustainable fashion journey in general. And yeah, and it kind of forced me to be a little bit more critical and thinking a bit more critically when I think about fashion in general and sustainable fashion, and my conception and my relationship to it. So, first off, about my sustainable journey. So, I've been in my sustainable journey for now over 10 years. It started when I was in high school, and I'm now at the end of my 20s. So, it's been like over 10 years. And the thing is, for me, as I got into this sustainable journey, I also kind of woke up into just the whole process of fashion, the industry, and the harm that it has caused. And it kind of woke me up to, you know, like a lot of issues that is within the fashion industry, which pushed me to, you know, having to think about my relationship to fashion as someone who actually loves fashion so much and who enjoys dressing up, who enjoys clothes, who enjoys accessories, who enjoys just expressing myself through fashion. Like, I've said it many times, for me, fashion is an extension to one's personality. And you can say so much about fashion, and you can say so much about someone through their fashion, through the things they're wearing, and all that jazz. But I also had to think about, do I really want to partake in an industry that I am in a way at odds with, because the practices and, you know, like what's happening within that industry and what this industry is causing is something I don't agree with. So it kind of pushed me to be more kind of thoughtful about my fashion. And so over the years, then I starting to then buy secondhand more and more, and now I'm at a point where basically 99% of the time when I buy new clothes, those are clothes from secondhand shops. But even then, my process has changed drastically over the years. I used to be the kind of person who used to buy a lot in charity shops because things were cheap, and like I was seeing things as very disposable as well. There was always this thinking of, oh, if I don't like it, it's not too bad, because it's not like if it was a waste of money or yada yada. And so I would buy just to buy because things were cheap, and I would actually in a way feel less guilt because oh, I bought a second hand. But then over the years I kind of realized that first of all, there were a lot of the things that I was buying just because I thought they were cool that I was not wearing, and it would literally just sit in my closet for months and years, which when then you think of it, you just like it's just so sad because someone could have actually really, really have a good use out of it, but it just sitting there. So I just ended up selling them or giving them away because like I was just not having any use out of them. And I also kind of was not really paying much attention about the quality and the brands that I was buying from the secondhand fashion, because some things I would buy and a few weeks later or a few months later it would be completely ripped off and unwearable and all that jazz. So over the years I kind of then starting realizing that wow, like I need to be more mindful on my secondhand shopping as well, because I it felt like that I was actually causing the same issues as first hand fashion, but just with a more sustainable approach because I was buying things secondhand. But still, it was not really sitting well with me. So I started being way more careful and mindful about my purchases. And now I have like a couple of simple rules that I try to follow when I'm buying secondhand or when I'm buying my clothes. Like basically one of the rules being that I need to be able to make multiple outfits with the piece that I'm saying, because if I can't make multiple outfits with it, like if I cannot make up all the outfits that I want with the clothes that I already have, there's no you know point for me to have it, because okay, I like the piece, but it means that I'm not really going to wear it. And for example, today which is actually great is the existence of digital wardrobe. And for example, one of the digital wardrobe that I use is called Wearing, and it's actually quite great because then I can actually scroll through and see things that I have and be like, oh yeah, that's something. If you can't memorize all the clothes that you have, like having it digitally is actually a really great like concept and idea. So you can actually make up outfits and see, oh yeah. And on those kind of digital apps you can also digital wardrobe apps, you can also create outfits and see like if things could actually work. It might take a bit more time, but I think I'd rather take a bit more time and make sure that the piece I'm gonna buy, I'm gonna have a use out of it, rather than just buying it to buy it and then not use it at all. And another rule that I have that is quite important to me is the quality. The thing is, I really am very picky with the material. I need to touch things. I need to make sure that the quality, what is it made of, so I can actually make sure that that piece is gonna last me the longest time. That I'm not gonna be throwing it away in the near future, because yeah, like quality is actually more important to me than quantity. I'd rather have fewer clothes, but fewer clothes with good quality, than having bunch of clothes with bad qualities. And by implementing, for example, those two rules, it has actually disciplined me quite well into really knowing what I want to buy, how to buy, and you know, making sure that the things that I buy, then I wear them. And I do. And I am someone who also likes to play around with my clothes and to wear them in different ways, because I love to have fun with it. So it's in that process of making sure that I can wear my clothes um like within different outfits. I also make sure that if I can actually wear this piece of clothing multiple different ways, that's a bigger plus, because I know that I'm gonna even wear it even more because I just love to play around with, clothes. So there was this first part, of my critical thinking, you know, uh, awareness within secondhand fashion and sustainable fashion in general, because I was just like, okay, so like I want to be sustainable. So let me be sustainable and truly be sustainable. So it first for me comes from, you know, making sure that the pieces that I buy that are secondhand are pieces that I'm gonna wear, are pieces that I truly, truly love, and are pieces that I'm gonna be having for the longest time. Let's not, lie to ourselves. Like secondhand fashion has become very trendy the past few years. That's also why we've seen a surge in prices in charity shops and thrift shops and vintage shops, because it became more, um more kind of seen as something more acceptable. And like it used to be something that was seen as, if you couldn't buy firsthand from H&M or whatever fast fashion brands, and you were buying secondhand, people would literally look at you like, girl, I remember in school, for me, it was really like, if you would buy secondhand, people wouldn't really understand why you would do it, especially if you do have the means to buy firsthand. Like, mind you, I went to school in Switzerland, so the secondhand craze came really, really late. Everything comes late in this country. And so it was really kind of telling to me, when I kind of saw the whole kind of, whole change in perception within secondhand, which, by the way, I'm actually really glad that it became more mainstream and kind of more people kind of realize that it's great. But like, there's still this thing that is okay, now it became very good, but and it's a sustainable way. But the thing is, if we're not really talking about the root of the problem, and the fact that every time like a sector get more praise, and like social classes that have more means get into it, suddenly it becomes a capitalistic trove. And that's why we have a rise in, a rise in prices, and we see secondhand shops popping up left and right. And yeah, it's because it has become a business where there's actually good money to be made, because there's now social classes that have more means that are actually willing to pay more, um to to have it, because secondhand shops, charity shops, are not new. They've been around for like a very long time, but they just had a really bad connotation for a very, very long time. um when you know uh it's always like that. Like, the the groups of people that have the least are the ones that actually harm the less. But we always point fingers at them, when you just like, when you don't have much means, you can't do a lot of harm, because you already trying to get by with the little that you have. So yeah, so basically the whole kind of, consciousness, class consciousness that came along with it, and also climate consciousness that come along with it, forced me to be way, way more critical in my consumption and my relationship to fashion. What does sustainability means to me? Because with all the, me rethinking my consumption, my relationship to fashion, and especially my relationship to secondhand fashion, sustainable fashion, I had to kind of define to myself what that sustainability was. And for me, sustainability is longevity. It's to make sure that the pieces that I acquire last me the longest time. But it's also to make sure that when it comes to clothing, I get to wear them in different ways so I can wear them the longest and make a good use out of them. So sustainability for me, became about longevity and creativity. For me, that's the two elements that I define in my sustainability. And I had to define this because I also kept in mind that sometimes I might have to buy things new, you know? Sometimes I might have to, not be able to find what I am looking for in a secondhand shop, and I might have to go firsthand. And I'm, for example, thinking a lot about shoes because, first of all, I've been told by my doctor that shoes, it's not good to only have secondhand shoes. It's important to have a 50-50 ratio, like 50% at least used, 50% new, because like when you break into a pair of shoes, you can only break into them once and not twice. And that's probably the reason why you might have experienced some, issues with your secondhand shoes where it's painful and all that jazz, is because it has been molded into somebody else's feet. So it can't be molded into your feet again. So, it's going to create issues. And it's just that if you only have secondhand pair of shoes, it can create, more issues in the long run. So my doctor has, always suggested me that I have like a ratio of like new and used, uh, just for the sake of my health and my feet health. As someone who also, again, like to be more um thoughtful, I was thinking about, for example, when you see trends today, a lot of trends are based off, again, working class jobs. We now seeing a surge and, a spike of rubber clogs. Those rubber clogs, we are seeing them everywhere, and they're literally the most comfortable, the coolest shoes out there. Don't get me wrong. But those are, for example, those clogs, I remember, as I was younger, like I always call them like gardener clogs, because my mom and my grandma and my aunts and, anybody doing like gardening would actually wear those for gardening, because that was the gardening shoes and it's actually made for gardening and all that jazz. So it kind of then got me to like think very critically about, if I want to acquire a pair of those what I call gardening shoes, and I want to make sure that those shoes last me the longest time, is it not best for me to buy it from a shop that does and that is specialized, or a brand that does and that is specialized in making gardening attire and tools? Because at least you have a guarantee that, you know it has been thought through, you know that it's been, practically designed for it. And then, I kind of started realizing that, because I was just like, you know, in my sustainable thinking, it's, the longevity for me and the creativity that are important, but longevity is the main point. I need longevity for sure, and sometimes I need to buy things new, because of the impossibility for me to buy it secondhand, or because, again, I'm thinking about longevity and I want to make sure that it's going to last me as long as possible. And in that longevity, I also think about practicability, and also making sure that I get my item from, like a place or a brand that knows what they're doing. So, for example, I was talking about those clogs. I do have them, Like I've been having those clogs for many, many years. And those clogs, I bought them in shop that is specialized for, manual and gardening and outdoor jobs. So everything that I buy there has been actually up from brands that knows what they're doing. They're good to get their gear because they know that the quality is great, because also when you do buy the things, you do actually have like the brand tag and a guarantee that it is waterproof, that it is sunproof, that it is actually made for professionals to use them. So for me, the logic behind it is, if it is designed and made for professionals to use them, well, it means that it's clearly something that's going to last, because especially when you are doing an outdoorsy job, things that you get have to really be thought through, so it's protective, so it's lasting, because we also talking about working class people. They don't have like the means that upper class people have. So it's not something that they should not have to think about buying new attire every few weeks because it's the current attire is already dying. No, it should be like every few years. That's literally the thing that has to that is actually very important to them, is to make sure that it's every few years they need to make sure that they can actually buy a new um piece for their job attire. Mind you, I'm talking from experience because my stepdad is a mechanic. So like the shop that I bought this from is literally a shop where he goes to because he gets all his attire there, and he has always kind of been very happy and proud, and he always tells me about all the kind of brands that are great to shop by, because they do great things for this or that a profession or whatever. So I bought these clogs like 5 years ago. Like, and apart from maybe this that is, coming off because I've been wearing this for years, the clogs are still really great. You see? Let me just show you. You see, the clogs are still in very, very, very great condition because the brands that made it, they know what they're doing, and it's the kind of things that is going to last me forever. And I can show you the brand. Don't know if you can see it, but it's Spiral with an E at the end. And yes, it's basically a brand that is known for doing all the kind of outdoorsy profession gears and attire and tools. So the fact that like, mind you, I wear these shoes so freaking much, especially in the spring summer, because they literally are slip-on shoes. So you can slip into that and you completely fine. And like the way also I came into the thinking is when I saw Balenciaga, you know, selling those construction workers jacket for thousands of euros. And I was just like, guys, are you fucking serious? Are you even real? Like, for me, like, first of all, I do believe that Balenciaga at some point were doing a lot of experiments, and to see like what they could sell at a like exorbitant price point, and people just buying it because it's Balenciaga for the brand, for just the brand, the tag of it, and to be able to say that, because there was this whole kind of thing that made me very uncomfortable about the fact that Balenciaga was kind of getting inspiration from working class people, and you know making clothing from those working class people, but with a price tag that those working class people can't even afford. Like, I never really understood what is this glamorization of working class from the upper class. Like, apart from a mockery of it, I just don't understand that. I don't know. There's something that never really sat right with me. And when so like for example, Demna, he also has vêtements, and he said himself that he got very inspired by his childhood because he fled his country when he was young, and he grew up in anyways, that was his story. But for me, I'm just like, okay, I understand that you might get some inspiration, but I think that there's actually a difference between being inspired and ripping off DHL, you know, polo shirts that you're selling for thousands of dollars and or euros, when those DHL workers can't even afford those t-shirts. I mean, they even get them for free because it's part of their job. But yeah, there's something that sometimes just like, are we really, and it's really for me, for example, I was seeing this jacket, this like what I call like construction workers jacket. And mind you, I have one. Let me show you it. As you can see, I do have one of the jackets over here. I have one because when I ride a bike, especially in the evening, so I am actually visible. And let's not lie, it's also quite cool. Sometimes I wear it as a cute little, um, jacket, but mostly when I want to ride my bike and I want to be visible. And mind you, I bought this for like 50 euros, and it's from, again, a shop that sells all those gears for people working outdoors jobs, and it's literally has here, it says here workers. And like my stepdad actually suggested me to buy this because he bought from that shop as well, and his lasted him for at least 10 years before he had to buy a new one. And I was just like, I was thinking about how like ridiculous that some people might want to actually buy something like that because they saw Balenciaga having it, and they really want it, and they might not even think about like the sustainable aspect of it, of maybe trying shops that are specialized for outdoor jobs. That's what, when I mean, we need to be more kind of critical, because I also know that this jacket is going to last me a very long time because it is actually made to not only keep you warm, mind you, there's actually a fleece underneath that. There's a fleece that I can detach if I feel like it. Like for example, in the spring summer, I can wear it like without the fleece, so it does not suffocate me inside. And in the autumn, winter, I just need to put the fleece back, and so I'm actually really warm. And it's this over here is very practical. You can even see that you can even put your phone here, and there's this protection thingy. That jacket over here has been thought to be practical and to be functional, but also to be lasting, because it has to be of a good quality. Like I said, those people working those jobs don't have the time to have to overthink whether they have to buy a new one every few weeks or every few months. This is literally, something that I know I'm going to keep like forever, that is going to last me a very long time, that is made to actually be resistant, to be practical. You see all those brands that get inspired by those working class jobs and working class people, I think it's important to, before buying from like whatever brand that are not really specialized and they just do it for aesthetic reasons. Um, like, I think it's important to also think about the sustainable reason because, mind you, for example, like my clogs and my jacket over here, um like there are practical reasons behind it, because it's supposed to last you a long time. It's made for professionals, so it has to be, a good quality, something that lasts for a couple of years and that is doing its job. But, you know, like as someone who also loves fashion, I also see the aesthetic behind it. Like for me, it's very aesthetically, this, I think it's very aesthetically pleasing with some of my outfits and just looking like that as someone who loves also textures and stuff like that. It's actually quite great. I just love like how it is. Like, I don't know, there's something really good. And same with the jacket. I think that also the jacket has I love the kind of two-toned over here, and the fluorescent like band here is also really nice. I like the fact that there's a fleece underneath that I can actually remove, because then I actually have like a fleece that I can wear whenever. Yes, and it's just that you can actually find a aesthetics behind even practical things, and especially when you look at brands today that do get like strong inspiration from working class jobs, and all they doing is they just hijacking the aesthetic of it. Well, why not get the aesthetic and the longevity of it as well, and the practicability of it. Basically, the conclusion for me that I want you to get and to like leave this video with is that, like critical thinking within sustainable fashion is actually very important. Just because, you know, we say or we claim ourselves to be sustainable does not mean that we are truly sustainable. I feel like that sustainability should actually go beyond just the words, because it should really be shown in our action. How are we really being sustainable? Like, how thoughtful and how caring are we in our sustainability? Because when we claim to be sustainable, we claim that we actually care in taking actions that are kind of long lasting and kind of less harmful. And don't get me wrong, like the individual should not be the one to bear the burden of the climate crisis. The corporation should and have to, because those are the ones who are literally causing the like wreck that we are living right now, because it has always been everything about profit. So when you put profit over human lives, um, you actually kind of wreck everything havoc. So I'm not putting the responsibility on the individual, and I will never, because we are not the ones to have to bear the responsibility, because we actually are not the ones who are actually making the most harm. But I also strongly believe that, like, collective consciousness comes with us when we actually share around about all the small steps that we're trying to not only be more mindful in our consumption, to not actually fill the pockets of those corporations, and when we also try to show people that there are alternatives. And again, like I said, the reason why I don't condone individuals for the climate crisis is because there's so many features and factors that you have to take into account. Like, for example, a working class person shopping fast fashion, that's not the working class person actually fault that all they can afford is fast fashion. When, you know, especially that the shops that they could afford, like secondhand fashion, are becoming um too expensive for them because it now got gentrified, you know. But that's going to be a discussion for another day. But you know, it's like we need to see all the aspects, and that's why I actually put an emphasis on like sustainable fashion. And you know, it's my views again, but it's something that, like, I feel like that in sustainable fashion, like in a lot of issues, I feel like that in a lot of issues that is all about liberation and all about, you know, bettering like people's condition in the world. We tend to forget that even our you know, like the realm that we're in is not exempt of criticism, and we should actually be able to dig deeper. And that's what I try to do as much as possible. I have convictions, and I know that for me, as you know, someone who works on, you know, a road to liberation for all, and have actually seen and understood that neoliberal capitalism is the enemy, you know, not the people, the system is the enemy. Like, how can I work like alternatives, and how can I work in a society that is actually built to kind of, you know, not put people's life and the environment at the forefront, but the profit, you know, and kind of a society that is just so morally depraved that it rather destroy the future than truly find solution. That's why I like to think about all those little concepts that I decide to implement in my life and try to dig deeper on. Oh, but how can I actually truly, you know, like be sustainable? What does sustainable means to me? What is sustainability in my world? How can I really work towards more sustainability when I know that it's not feasible for me to just, you know, rely on secondhand fashion? That sometimes I have to rely on first hand fashion as well. But okay, if I do have to rely on first hand fashion, on, you know, depending on what I have to buy, where should I go? You know, so I can make sure that the piece that I buy is like lasting me the longest time and is a good quality. So I really hope that you enjoy this little yap piece. Please let me know what you thought of it. I have another yap piece that I shared a few weeks ago where I talk about, you know, how girlhood and kidcore you know, is like aesthetic that are rising a lot because, you know, it's like a way for us to cope in this really really dark society and world. So yeah, so if you want to hear me yap again and share my thoughts, please go check out this video as well. And in the meantime, I'll see you in my next video. Love always.